how did you get caught up in, not caught up, that's the wrong word. What brought you to the Monkees? What brought you to the Monkees? You go first, Rob. Go, yeah.
That's Rachel. But yeah, I guess like you talk about not being swept along with the crowd. I feel like I was kind of swept along with the crowd. I had this idea that the Monkees were like, oh, they're like an imitation Beatles or whatever. They're not a real band. And like I sort of like didn't really listen to it growing up as a little kid and didn't have much exposure to it as a really young kid. And then when I did, I had in my mind that like, oh, this is like forbidden material in some way. It's like somehow occulted by this like sense that it's somehow like a thing that like was like I've heard like negative things about it. I've heard like skepticism about it. And then and then I just loved it. I mean, I just couldn't understand how like what I was seeing and what I was hearing, you know, lined up with the stuff that I had heard and read about in like magazines or whatever. It's kind of absorbed from like being someone who's into music as a young kid and like to read about like you read Rolling Stone or wherever I was going to read things about music, just catch as catch can. So I had this sense that like, wait, this is something that like is not about that. It's not like they're like where I thought I was like being somehow smart by kind of accepting this opinion that I didn't have any basis for. All of a sudden I had an opportunity to reverse that and have like just a different opinion about things and kind of like trust the opinion that I was feeling responding to the music, responding to the show. And then that's sort of like what got me started, and then it sort of like had its moment where it kind of came back onto television. It's on MTV, and I was like really into MTV as a music kid, and then was like, yes, this is like, now people are starting to legitimate an opinion that I had that was private, and that was my kind of thing, and it felt like kind of redeemed in a way, and that sort of like accelerated the sort of fandom for me.
Cool.
For me, it was, I have two older brothers. They're quite a bit older than me. I actually don't know exactly how much. I'm not going to do the math live on stage. They were out of the military when I was 6, so that's the age difference. And one of them, they were both, I would say they're both snobs. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They were both like the coolest guys. They knew about everything. One of them in particular was in a lot of, you know, locally cool punk bands, and they just were encyclopedic about their knowledge of music, and to this day there's nobody I respect the taste of more. And their favorite band, they both agree, is the Monkees. And I grew up, you know, they would, I was this fat little kid, and they would pick me up from school, take me to the donut shop and hold a donut over my head while I would, I did the jump. And they'd say, like, their test for me when I was really little, and they're trying to teach me about what matters in the world, is name all of the Monkees in order of importance. And I mean, like, you know, I might get crucified out here later, but you know, whatever. This is what I was indoctrinated with. It was Nez, Torg, Dolenz, Jones, and I had to answer. Just like that was like automatic to answer. And then later in life, I think a lot of it was about I was trying to understand my brothers. I was like, I really wanted to be close to them and know. I mean, I grew up with the music and I loved it, but then in college, you know, I took a course in feminist avant-garde cinema, and I wrote my final paper about Head, and I began to theorize. I began to theorize the Monkees and think about, you know, like what about the Monkees is symbolically important to me, and like what the spirit of it is, the adversarial spirit, the sort of siding with the children over adults, sort of at every turn, and never ending in that quest. That's something that I identify with deeply, and I think that it makes a lot of sense now looking back that, you know, Rob and I would have met and connected, and then Nez and Victory would have connected, because there's very much a spirit, an ethic of the Monkees that I believe in quite ardently, actually beyond fandom and into something much deeper.
That's great. Oh wait, before down this thing, you said you just tossed off the fact that you wrote your thesis on the Head. Now, help us, because nobody in this room besides you obviously understands Head. So lead us, Rachel, lead us. Tell us, what the hell?
We rewatched Ted before coming out here, and I was trying to find it, you know, and I was like, what did I say, you know? And we had all these, I mean, I think that, like, you know, the RT